Hello, hello, hello. This is Dr. Andrea Little Mason, also known as Dr. Doula, and I am here with this gorgeous one today, Miss Nicole. It's Baxter Fletcher?
We could do that.
How do you call yourself?
Nicolle Fletcher.
Nicolle Fletcher. This is Nicolle Fletcher. And let me tell you, I always have to tell people about the amazing women that I am interviewing before I get started, because she's one of those women that I admire. She's one of those women that's been doing doula work for a while, and she'll tell you all about that. But just the way that she does the work, just the way that she communicates about it, you can sense the love and feel the love and everything that she does. She is one of these women that when I look at her and I see her interacting, I'm like, oh my goodness, she was made for this. She makes me want to go back and say, wait, let me just go sit with Nicole. Of course, yeah, I just want to sit. I want to see her. I want her to tell me how you do that, because that's how amazing she is. I know certain things about Nicole, but I just feel like there's so much more I want to know and need to know, and I want them to know. So, without further ado, Mrs. Nicolle Fletcher, please tell these people who you are.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Doula. The feeling is definitely mutual, and anyway, so just honored to be here. Again, my name is Nicolle Fletcher. I am a mother and a wife. I have 3 children. My oldest is 20. He'll be 21 this year. And then my second is 18, and she just graduated from high school. My son is going into his junior year in college at Henderson State University.
Already?
Yes, I know, it happened so fast. And then our youngest is coming up. She's 17 and she's about to be a senior. So that's kind of my little family there. My husband, Dr. Philip Fletcher, we've been married going on 22 years. We met in college at the University of California, Riverside, where when we first met, I was like, this dude, like, dude wasn't even happening. And then he just literally wooed me and swept me off my feet through his persistence and consistency. You know how we have a type,
yes.
Type. Well, he wasn't my type, but he became my type.
And he's still your type, girl.
He sure is. So I'm from San Diego, California, where I was born and raised, and spent most of my life there. I think when I, met my husband at UC Riverside, we, finished school there, and then eventually joined the military. And so through the military, there was a lot of travel that took place. And I mean, shortly after getting married, I was popping out babies. It was not our plan, but somebody is really fertile over here. And so, I mean, literally 2 months, or it was 3 months after we got married, I found out I was expecting. And I was kind of I remember the moment taking the test, we went in the bathroom, and then I came in the room and we sat next to each other on the bed, and I was like, it's positive. And can I tell people that we've had sex? Can we tell our moms that I've had sex? Because it was just so new. And I was like, Anyway, so.
Hilarious!
Kind of the beginnings. Really, our journey has just been, oh, we're doing this. Can we tell people we're doing it? Oh, here we go. There it goes. So, just kind of kept rolling there. I had unmedicated labors. All in the hospital setting. Part of it was because I didn't understand or know at the time all of the things that were available. With my first, we took a childbirth class, and it was funny because I was like, this woman is crazy. She's weird. And so we ended up dropping the class because it was so outside of our comfort zone. And I'm always mindful of that when I'm teaching classes now, how I felt at 21, 22 years old, taking these classes, and she was just all in I understand it now, but at the time I was like, this lady is in left field and we're not doing this.
But you know, that's such an important thing to point out, because in our fervor and our passion, and you know, we're saving Black women and we're doing all these things, we can't forget that we get it now.
Yes.
You know, to
Yes.
say certain things, we get it now.
Mm-hmm.
But when we see young women, you know, I wouldn't be truthful if I didn't say that there are times when I kind of cringe, like, oh, you know, I wish that, you know, they had known this thing,
Yes.
you know, but everybody has their own journey.
Yes.
And that's a part of their journey.
Absolutely.
And it's okay to, just like we would do in doula work, where is the mom?
Yeah.
You know?
Yes.
You know, not so much, let me, you know, whatever. No, where is the mom?
Where are you at right now? Where can we take you? Yes, absolutely.
So
absolutely.
I forgot to say, as I often do, this is Birth Her Story. And one of the things I want to know is, how did you get from, what was your degree in college?
Social relations.
Okay, so how did you get from there to birth?
It's funny. I just finished school and then I was a stay-at-home mom for it was interesting because I went through this whole kind of journeying. My husband at the time was a pastor, a youth pastor at our church, and I remember the elders of the church brought the elders' wives together and they had a meeting and they were talking about one of them. I just felt like everybody was crazy. Sorry. I just felt like everybody was crazy. And in that process, they gathered us together and they told us that our responsibility was to stay at home and care for our kids and just be still. And I thought, I was like, I'm sorry, this is not going to work well. And so anyways, we had a battle back and forth. Not my husband was just kind of I'm just listening, but I felt like, well, goodness, I've gone to school and I've done all this, and you're telling me that I can't do any of that? It was just odd at first.
Mm-hmm.
But I did find that after I started having my babies, and my husband joined the military, that it made the most sense for me to stay home. And I wasn't interested in going out and developing my own career. And so that's kind of where we stayed, is in that space. And so, funny, I was at home and I had unmedicated labors, not because I was so educated or so wise, but because I was afraid of getting an epidural that could potentially cause me to be paralyzed.
In my mind, I remember those thoughts, they're going to put something in my bag.
Yes. Well, there were two women when I was pregnant that had epidurals placed, and then those epidurals caused them to be paralyzed.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what the story was. That's what happened. I'm kind of moving from one space to the next.
That's fine. It's fine.
So at that point, I decided medication was not the option. And I thought, I don't care what type of pain childbirth can bring. It's not going to be greater than my desire to walk afterwards. I wanted to walk. So I was doing it. And so that's kind of how I got into that. But long story short, kind of fast forwarding just a bit, through the military experience, my husband was wanting to be a chaplain in the military. And part of the rules for chaplaincy in the military is that you have to finish your, what's the degree? Master's of Divinity. Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. I'm like, what's the degree? Finish that and then do 2 years of pastoral time. And so my parents had a church here in Arkansas. And so that's how we moved from California to Arkansas. So he could do the 2 years of pastoral time. And then we were getting back into the military. During that time, there's paperwork that you have to fill out and all that jazz. So he finished the degree, did all that stuff. But he was like, the Lord's not released me to turn these papers back in. And I was like, I need you to pray a little bit harder and return these papers back in, because that was the lifestyle that I had, acclimated to and then adjusted to. Well, long story short, we prayed and we didn't turn those papers back in. So 12 years later, we are still in Arkansas, Conway, Arkansas. And so it's the craziest thing. But early on, there was a friend that I had met who was expecting, and she was planning a home birth. And I was like, you can have a baby at home?
Wow.
I didn't even know. Yeah. And so I just didn't know. And so through that experience, it was just awesome. I got to see her birth. I got to see another person birth. They had, there's an unlicensed midwife that was here, or that is here. And so I got to just attend the birth with them and go, wow, this is amazing. And so then she and I were like, let's go to Texas and be midwives, because there was a midwifery program in Texas that we were going to apply for. And so I told my husband, I was like, hey, we're going to go to Texas and, all these things. And he was like, so we're not going to Texas, but I'll look to try to help you out. And so we found he found a local midwife here, her business card, and gave it to me. And I called her, and she introduced me to the world of doula. And so that's how I went from, school momming to then having this career, which was really awesome, because in the beginning, it was just for fun. It was like, I loved this. It was awesome and it was exciting to do. And so that's kind of where it started. And then it grew from there into just a deep passion and a realization that I am made to do this. This is actual gifting. And so even using my degree in some capacity, it's like counseling. And there's so much of counseling that comes along with sitting with a couple as they're preparing for the journey of their birth, right? Providing education and resources and tools, and just listening to them and listening to the thing that they're not actually saying out loud. So there's always here are the words and here's an undercurrent. And so I'm very quick to pick up on, here's the undercurrent, and how can I help navigate, support this family with what's going on underneath the surface.
That's beautiful. That's amazing. And how many years is that now for you?
So I began my training in 2009 and became certified through a local agency in 2010. So it was a year-long training and certification process.
So what was that like? So, many trainings are 2 or 3 days. Mm-hmm. And you get a little practice here, practice there. Yes. What was that like? What did that entail? Year-long training? Was that you're going once a month, once a week? What was that like?
So I found it was a beautiful training, actually. So it was a monthly meeting that we would have, and it would be with myself and other certified birth workers or other birth workers in training. Mm-hmm. There was a licensed midwife that was kind of over the entire program. And we would shadow birth. So I had to do 10 births shadowing with a certified doula. And then I had to do 5 book reports, and a research paper. And then I think that was primarily it. So, and that's what the time was. So, when women are delivering, you need more than just a weekend and then you're off doing it. And so not to throw shade or anything to the program or anything that's going on, but I have found that was the most complete training and allowed me to feel the most complete moving into this work, where I could have the confidence to do it myself. And that's how I train other women is that same way.
So yes, because I want to talk about that. I just want to put a pin in that. The importance, when I'm encouraging Black women to get involved. And I always say, I have this thing I say, before there were doulas, there were mothers, there were this, there were that. And the fact that Black women were more likely to be involved in birth just because they had been around it more in previous generations. But I also comment and let people know, like, a lot of them won't move. And so hear me out on this. They won't move, won't make any strides toward helping women or whatever until I go to this weekend training. And then I'll be ready. And I think that the notion of I'm going to go to this weekend training and then I'll be ready, I think that that's a bit of an oversell. Okay? Because what I hear you saying is that the fact that you had that year long, that it was involved in it, was also, the shadowing. Oh my goodness, do you know how many women are like, I would love to be able to shadow a doula. I would love to be able to have a doula mentor. Do you know how many are like, I don't know. No. So I really love that setup that you described and how you came in, because to me, it does help. I've been to a birth before. There are many women that come out of the training, have still never been to a birth.
Right. And I'm
not judging that either. I mean, that's not a judgment. That's just saying that some of these things that we are calling, like, that we are placing so much emphasis on, as far as you have to be trained. The truth of the matter is this, and this is what I tell people in my Sanko for Birth Ambassador workshops. I set myself up as more of a mentor. I set myself up as one more that can help them know what they're looking at in this birth culture. But in actuality, many many doula trainings contain information that you could go on the internet. I mean, whatever, Nicole, I'll say it. You can go on the internet, buy the books, read them yourself, and whatever. It's not until you get into the touching part that the tactile part of it, that it becomes, I always say, like, what I can see and smell and hear and the senses are activated. Now, so you have a training that you mentioned. You said it's similar to this. Tell me about that.
So in kind of a full backstory. So I started with an organization in Little Rock called BirthWorks. And so that's where I trained and I certified through. And then I worked for that agency for about 2 years. And then I wanted to launch my own business. From Conway to Little Rock, it's about 30 miles, right? So it's a 30-minute drive, kind of traveling back and forth. And I found on the way, there were hospitals that I was passing up to have good experiences. And I wanted to cultivate the community that I lived in. And that was really important for me. Because I didn't want to be traveling up and down the road all the time. And let me go back and say that here in Arkansas, for the longest time, when I began my training, I was like the only Black doula.
No. Well, then now you must tell me what that was like.
Well, yes. And I'm going to be honest, I didn't realize it because I'm from California. And it's, let's just da-da-da-da-da. Everybody, folks is just folks. People are people, and we're just doing our thing. So I did not realize in the beginning what it was really like because I was just one amongst the many, right? I saw myself just sitting at the table with everyone else. It wasn't until I started to realize that, this table looks a little different here for me and for you. And you know what I mean? And the experience are a little bit different. So that's when things began to shift for me. And I saw, and actually the shift began in 2016, 17, that window was when I started to see some things and be aware of things. The people that I was working with, they knew the statistics with Black women. Nobody ever shared it with me.
Isn't that interesting?
Like, I did not know that. And so through some research and information, I found that out, and I was like, how come nobody told me that? Like, I went through this magnificent training and I've done all of these things and connected with women in so many ways, but I didn't know that there were some statistics and some experiences that we were having that were unlike other women's experiences. And, when I look back at my own experience, I didn't know any better. I stayed at home. I stayed at home and I just labored.
Exactly. I didn't either. I almost missed a couple of them because I was like, I didn't, I was, oh, my husband's not here yet. I'm going to wait for him. Just breathing,
Exactly. So I think that was a lot of it, like my experience, so you bring your experience to the table and then your connection. I just did not know that there was such a huge difference in birth outcomes, birth experiences, women being heard or not being heard. It wasn't until literally the scales were lifted and I started to pay attention. And when I started to speak out about what I was seeing, the white workers were like, why are you being so divisive?
Wow.
Divisive. I'm sorry. I had a woman call me, and I will never forget this. This is when I really made intention to focus on, Black women of color and Black women specifically, and trying to really be a presence and speak out loud and say hey, there's some statistical issues, and I want to be a part of changing that. There's microaggressions that make our lives just different on a daily basis. So when we talk about babies being born prematurely from stress, right, high stress factors and all of these different things, there's a way that we can address those things. But a woman called me and she said, you used to bring, women together, and now you're so focused on, Black women. I feel like you're being divisive. And she was like, you brought this one girl around, and she's like, I think she's like an Indian lady. And I was like, first of all, she's fair skinned, but she's Black. And second of all, are you just saying that because I was a mixed white woman and allowed them to feel comfortable in their own skin and like they were doing something well with me being there. And now that I'm raising the banner or the flag of we've got to do something, we need to be more aware and change this. Now it's not okay. Because
I remember when I started seeing different kinds of posts on your page. I remember, were you working primarily with white women at the time, working with them as colleagues and as birthing?
I think the shift happened in 2018, the official shift was 2018, late 2017, but the official shift 2018. And that was the year that I had more African-American clients than I had ever had in my whole career. I had 10 Black women as my clients in 2018. And typically I carry, leading up to this point, I would carry anywhere from 30 to 38 clients a year. And that was kind of my average. And so from 2009, when I trained, to 2017, I probably had 10 Black women as clients in that time span.
Wow.
Then in 2018, I had 10 that year alone.
Now, we often talk about, there's a difference, whether it's therapy or whether it's, seeing someone that looks like you. Was there a difference in you serving women that look like you, families that look like you? Was it just like, okay, I'm working now still, but I'm just working with someone that's Black versus someone that's white? Were there any differences that you saw? And I'm not saying in the quality of the care you provided, but were there any cultural differences or anything like that from going from having primarily a white clientele to now having, these in 1 year,
It was, and I think the difference was really funny.
Okay.
So for me, it's very much more community, right? So mom is there. A lot of times dad's there too, like just chilling. Granddad like chilling. He gonna sit in the room the whole time. I was like, do you have somewhere to go? Don't start pushing. I mean, is this we cool? Okay. So it was a learning curve for me because it was definitely more celebratory, more community within the prenatal care. And there's always grandma who's looking at you like, I mean, I could do this. I don't know why you hired her. Why you pay her? Because I could do this. And you have to like bring grandma in and love on her and let her know that her role is amazing. And you're there just to compliment the entire team and just kind of whisk this through and make it amazing. So those were some of the differences that like in some ways kind of cracked me up because I was like, she is really checking me. Like grandma is like, don't play. And now I'll never forget this one mom. So the client she was just really like working hard. I mean, and looking like she's not going to make this, you know. She was a feedback and she was doing unmedicated. And her mom is also a nurse. So her mom was like, she needs an epidural. Like, she just needs an epidural. And so I was like, okay, we're going to navigate and try to do some of these moves and do some of this. I was like, she's actually doing really good. Everything's fine. Well, anyways, so the grandmother was over at the nurse telling her, like, I need you to get an epidural up in here and do a little click, 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 you know, just like going off. And I was like, I'm going to let mama do her thing. And I'm just going to stay right here with my, you know, my laboring mama and dad. And then eventually, like, she was able to kind of calm down a little bit. And the daughter was like, Mom, I'm fine. But then she didn't look fine. And so she ended up pushing and delivered her baby without medication and had a successful VBAC. But it was just that tension in that moment of, you know, loving your baby with all that you have. I mean, I think all moms in general will do whatever it takes for their kids, but there's something different about a Black mom and her willingness to just, you know, balls to the walls for her baby. And I don't, you know, almost like, I don't care about you. I don't care. This is my child, you know, and I'm going to make sure my child is okay. And I have to like, it's okay. Just give her space to do her thing.
I love that. I love it because there is, even in that, you know, when you described that, you didn't say, oh, and the mother got aggressive. You said, no, mom was protecting her daughter. Yeah. Mom was doing whatever. And those kinds of things, sometimes cultural competency classes alone is not enough to teach all of that.
Yes. Yeah.
Some things cannot be taught, you know, and so it is beautiful that you recognize, you say, okay, I know what that is. I'm gonna do whatever. I'm gonna stay over here. And there's that sensibility, and that's valuable. It's valuable in the space, because there is this certain regard for motherhood in different communities that goes a different way. You know, you don't check mama.
Nope.
Okay. You don't check grandma, you don't check you know, you have to know how to navigate that. Okay. Respectfully.
Yes. And then the FaceTime and bringing auntie in, because Titi needs to see how you doing, and then bringing all the things, and I'll be like,
you have to, you navigate it. It's like, okay, even if you, okay, how do I work around this? It's not you stand in the middle of the floor, okay, everybody.
Right. Right.
That's not what it is.
I think that's a lot of it is like joining the community, because at the end of the day, this is a privilege and a gift and an honor for you to be in this sacred space with this mom and her family. And you want to make sure, like, my thing is, everybody in your space needs a job, right? So if I can give everybody something to do, that's like the best thing that I can contribute. And everybody feels like they've been a part of this amazing celebration and welcoming in this new life, because it's important and it is such a big deal and it's a beautiful gift. So I'm always honored to be a part of that. But it is different. And mama is protective. She's a mama bear. And she's going to be looking at you like, what makes you valuable? Like, why are you here?
You cannot say that enough. I cannot tell you how, I think it's something just still that's a DNA memory kind of thing. Like, we remember it. I cannot tell you how many times that I've spoken to parents or grandparents, that the parents of the mom, the birthing mom,
Mm-hmm.
and, you know, by the time you finish talking, whatever, she's like, yeah, you know, it's like, oh yeah, I can do this. Yeah, it's like, it's something that comes. So you're not, now I will say this, I've been in the room several times where there were Black moms who felt absolutely like, I don't know what to do, where I actually did more of comforting them, just to say, you know what, mom, okay, let me stand here with you, because I knew the mom was, okay, I'm looking, and I'm looking, and the mom, her mother is like over there in the corner sitting.
Yeah.
And both of those cases, they were themselves left in birthing rooms alone. And so this brought terror to them.
Yeah.
And this was traumatic for them. And they weren't just like, oh, I'm whatever. They were like, over. And this is like, okay, it's pushing, phase, you know, we're about to do some things here.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, well, she's probably, because you were here, you probably want to be able to talk to her about, because I know she wanted you here for a reason.
Yes.
So you'll probably want to be able to talk to her a little. How about if I stand with you?
Mm-hmm.
How about if I stand, and I'll stand right here beside you?
Yes.
And sometimes the mom will say, where's my mom? And I've had to tell the mom, because the mother was traumatized herself, left alone, maybe a teenage mother or whatever, years ago. And she's like, I just can't. And I said, I'll tell you what, she's calling for you. How about if I help you be here for her? So you all can have some memories together.
Yes.
And sometimes that's also what the work is, to help bridge that together. You know, these broken places, when our history, when some of the trauma of our history pops up its face in the labor room, you know.
Yes. And one of the things I try to do, like with my prenatal time, is if I know that you're going to have, you know, a large number of family members like in the labor space, like, let's have a prenatal appointment with all of those members there, so that we can prepare for what we're going to see, what we might hear, and what's normal and what's not normal. So I don't always get that, but when I can get that, that's important for me, to have those moments prior to the labor space, so we can work through some of those healings, or even ask mom to ask her mother what was her birth experience like, and keep that dialogue kind of fluid. My kids are probably so tired of me, because every year on their birthday, I will like sit them on my lap, and I've done this since they were little, and tell them their birth story.
Yes, I do the same thing, Nicole. Oh my God. Yes. Oh my gosh.
I don't want my kids at, like, when they start having kids, to be like, now what happened? Like, what's the story? I want them to know the story, and to feel confident and powerful in the story and in the journey, and know how they got here and what that looks like. And so, you know, my son will be 21 this year, and he'll be 21 on November 21st. And so we consider that your golden birthday, when you turn the number on the day. Yeah. And so, you know, his big old 6 foot, you know, 4 self, I'll be like, come sit on my lap.
Yes. You know it's about to happen.
And so now he's like, okay, I'll tell you the story. So now he tells me, and the girls tell me their story versus me telling them. And so it's really nice to just kind of have that full picture. But that's something that I want for them, you know, like the legacy that I'd like to leave with them, that they would do that with their own children, and kind of pass that along, that it's not a brand new topic, that birth isn't scary, that birth isn't something that we need to be afraid of. It should be, it's an everyday conversation. Like, here's my elbow.
Exactly.
Okay, here's your vagina. Here's what's going to pass through it. Oh, there's a penis. It's like, I want it to be very normal and casual conversation. It might make other people feel uncomfortable, but like in our home, like that's where it's at.
You know what, Nicole? There's a video that's been playing around recently about the black mom who had the baby in the car and the dad was driving.
Uh-huh.
I have such mixed, it's like, I watched it, but I would look at the comments that people made and I'm like, this is a glorious thing that this woman, she birthed this baby. But then I also heard the baby in the back who was terrified. I don't know if you've seen it.
I haven't seen it.
If
there was
you
a toddler in the car?
There are 3 young ones in the back. One is like here for it. I think it's a girl, and she is like video. She's like, here's mom, here's dad, and then I gotta turn into her siblings. I'm guessing, I couldn't really tell a lot, but I'm guessing the age might be somewhere between. They look like they were between like maybe 10 and the youngest might have been 4 or 5. I could be wrong because I just know the baby, the youngest that was in that back seat was horrified.
She wasn't having it.
Like and they're all in the car together. And dad is like speeding past things. The mom is like, the baby's head's coming out. The baby's coming out. It's like, not yet, not yet. And it's like, there's emergency. And it's one of those things where I want to say, pull over. Just stop the car. Because now, just stop the car. The baby is screaming, calm the baby. The young one in the back is screaming. See, now I'm going to send it to you after we finish. The baby in the back is screaming her head. Like, as the mom was pushing, she roared.
Right.
When she roared, the baby's like, in the back seat. And so, like, the people were commenting, it's so beautiful, so beautiful. And I was like, the baby was terrified. Did you hear the baby screaming in the back? Was terrified. And like I said, it was like 4 or 5, I'm guessing. So enough to know that when you make sounds that this is, what's wrong with mom,
Right,
and,
yeah.
And had been holding in tears, but when mom roared, the baby was like, ah!
It's no more safety net, it's gone.
Yeah, and so I'm saying that just to say the importance. I didn't know anybody else. Now, they moved away when they are away, one's Washington State, one is, so then it's like we're on the phone. Okay, happy birthday.
Yes.
But I think that that's a beautiful thing that you brought up, and that more of us should consider that. Even I think those who would do things different now, or who know more now, that they can say, I was very afraid. I was very whatever. But I learned now that I don't have to be.
Absolutely.
To begin to allow the healing to come to the next generations.
Yes.
Okay, so I don't want us to miss, you talked about the fact that you are just amazing. I know you've done dance with pregnant women. I know you've done this. Tell us all the things you've done. Tell us.
Okay, so I'm a birth doula. Mm-hmm. I am a postpartum doula. I'm a lactation counselor. I am a childbirth educator. I am a dancing for birth instructor. Mm-hmm. I'm a certified health coach now, kind of added that through Dr. Sears. And I think those are it, like as far as things that I do. Now I've kind of embarked on this new journey. I will be the mentoring program director, or I am the mentoring program director for an organization here in Conway called Conway Cradle Care. And that really helps with mentoring teen moms and adolescent moms from as young as they come through 21. Really, as a birth worker, I've had women that have given birth in their teens, and then they've come and they're like 25 and whatever, their life circumstance is different. And they've said that they didn't like how their first birth experience went. They didn't have knowledge, or they didn't, just all of these things that were missing. And I'm like, why can't a teen mom have a beautiful birth experience? Why can't she have that? She can. And so we have to approach our teens differently than we have been. The shame, the blame, the all of that, the the next time. No, guess what? You're a woman. And we're about to treat you like a woman who is responsible for a new human being. And we're going to work this thing together. We're going to provide you with the education that you need to make informed decisions about your care, because you can do that. You're capable of that. And so I'm all about empowerment on every scale. So the name of my business is Nurturing Arrows. And so my last name is Fletcher, and Fletcher means arrow maker, to make arrows. So my whole thing is about bringing women in, nurturing them and launching them to their destination like an arrow. So it's not about me and having my dreams or my goals with your birth experience or your life journey, but it is sitting down, having the conversation, whether you're a client or an expecting mom, or whether you're a birth worker and you're interested in doing this doula work. So I also mentor women. I coach them, I train them, and I certify them. And that's important for me.
And that's a part of Nurturing Arrows, the training. Okay.
Yep, absolutely. And again, so whether you're birthing or whether you're wanting to launch your own business, I want to bring you in my fold. I want to nurture you and pour all my love, all my care, all of my experiences, the good experiences, the bad experiences, what I've done well, what I've done poorly. I'm going to bring that to the table, pour that into you, and then you launch like an arrow. And so I love that. It makes my heart happy, and it has filled me with so much joy. And so back to when I said I was the only birth worker, like doula, in the area for the longest time.
Wow.
Now I'm actively training 9 Black birth workers.
Well, shucks now, girl.
Yes. And so, I mean, my soul is full doing that and seeing these women, like, their why, like, why do you want to do this? And hearing them say, like, my experience, I wasn't heard, or I didn't have a doula, or I didn't know that this was even an option. I didn't know it was a thing. I didn't see myself in the women that were on the, looking for a doula. I didn't see myself. So it was definitely not something that I thought I could do. And so now, creating a stronger presence of women of color, but specifically African-American women, has been so important to me. And it's changed my life. Like, it's changed my life to see that. For the longest time, and I'll say her name, Erica Davis, she's probably been a doula in the area for, I'm going to say 4 or 5 years now. And it was funny because, we would go in the hospitals, we look nothing alike. Nothing alike.
Don't tell me they got you confused with each other.
Every time.
You look nothing like Erica. You look nothing like her.
Erica. No, I don't at all. So she was like, at one point, she was like, Nicole, I'm just about to wear a shirt that says, I'm not Nicole. No, this is not Nicole. And so people will be like, oh, she's in the hospital, working. Hey, Nicole. And I'm not Nicole. And so now there's too many for you to think they're all Nicole. So you're going to have to pay attention to some features and look at people.
Oh my gosh. Tell me this.
My heart.
Tell me this. So what word would you offer a young woman a person who wanted to get started in birth work that doesn't know, but like what word of advice would you give them, or just anything like that?
Much like what you have said, I might cry now. Much like what you have said, the knowledge, it's in you. It really is. And don't be afraid of doing the thing that you were born passionately to do. Don't be afraid of what this person may say or that person may say. You have a degree, you don't have a degree. Like, all of that. For doula work, there is no governing body that it has to look like X, Y, and Z. And don't let anybody tell you that you don't know what you're doing, or that you can't do this until you have X, Y, and Z credential behind you. And I tell the women that come along to train with me, I'm like, you don't have to do this. Like, you don't. And so I just want you to know that I'm not You're not being coerced, or you're not under any pressure to like do it this way. This is what gives me confidence. This was the way I was brought in and the way I want to bring in other women. But if you decide like, I'm cool, like I got this, I'm about to celebrate you. I will clap, I will cheer, I will be your biggest fan and your supporter. And what we need to do as Black workers, Black birth workers, is learn to celebrate each other and support one another better when in the same community, even when our target is the same demographic. And I think that's where it kind of gets a little tricky. We've got to navigate that a little bit better, and support one another.
Because that is, and I see that as well. But that is a pour over of the current birth culture.
Yes.
And I always say we're at a state of emergency while we're sitting here saying, well, there's going to be a training that comes in August. I really feel like I should do. Well, what are you doing in the process? Okay, if you want to do a training, what are you doing in the process?
Yes. Yeah.
There are so many ways that we can help our sisters and the people in our world before we have that person that comes and is coming to your city.
Mm-hmm.
And so in a state of emergency, which is what I believe that Black women are in, and we've been in for a while, but just have not acknowledged it.
Yes.
They haven't acknowledged it. But in this place where we're seeking to save ourselves, and it is important that we understand, what do you do when it's an emergency? You know, there are certain things that it's like, okay, oh, normally I would do that, but right now I'm doing this.
Yes.
I'll get to that, but this is the priority.
Absolutely.
And what is the legacy? What is the legacy Nicole wants to leave? You mentioned your children and sharing their stories. What type of legacy would you want to leave in birth culture?
That women matter, that Black women matter, that your experience matters, that you are capable, that you are beautiful, that you are strong, but it's okay to be weak. It's okay to not have it together. It's okay to not feel perfect or even put this facade up of like, I got it all together. I think at the end of the day, I want women to know, and the legacy that I want to leave is, do what God has called you to do and do it with excellence.
Yes.
Period.
And
don't allow anybody to stop you, hold you back, like unburden yourself from the burden of expectation of other people, and whatever box it is that people have put you in, break the walls down.
Excellent.
And live.
Oh,
yeah.
I had to fight not to scream through that whole thing, girl. I was like, preach! Oh my, that is so wonderful. That is so beautiful. I also know you do a Ujima. Tell us really quickly about Ujima, because when you do 50 million different things.
This is true, you forget. So Ujima Maternity Network is really about Black birth workers coming together to serve Black women specifically. We want to decrease these statistics, and I'm kind of like, again, I've learned so much from you that you don't even know. But like, instead of buzzwording all the statistics and like, this is traumatic and blah, 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 like, what can we do to uplift? So part of it is education, bringing information, resources, tools together, and bringing our women together and like having safe spaces for them to talk about their experiences, and then to learn new ways forward. So that's kind of what we've got going on with Ujima. And it's brand new to our area. But what I find that we tend to be a little bit silent and shy because we're like scoping it out. But then, and pardon the way that I say this, but Becky feels full free to jump in on Ujima and say all the things that she thinks about this, that, and the other, and the injustices and, whatever. But I'm like, where you been? Like, first of all, where you been? And second of all, if this space is designed for me, why do you feel free and at liberty to just say everything all the time? Exactly. I'm gonna need you to find a corner and sit in and like observe, like we've observed for years in many aspects Like, this is your turn to be an observer, to watch, to cheer from the side, and actually cheer from the side. And it has nothing to do with you. Allow these women, just step aside. Step aside. Oh, stamp. No, I'm sorry. That was rude. No, I meant, but like,
Oh my God.
no, I'm like, wait, it's a little joke. It's from a cartoon. It would say, step aside, old stamp. So that really didn't have anything.
I know, I'm sure. You sound like you popped out for a minute. I love what you're saying, because one of the things I often say, people will scream, I'm an ally, I'm a whatever, I'm this and that and the other. But truly those that, in my opinion, if you're looking to be an ally, then give up when you have an opportunity to talk and you're sitting beside a Black woman who has a voice and can speak for herself, then you quiet and you say, well, I'm aware, but let me defer to whomever, because this is really something she's passionate about. And when we can't have those spaces and people are not willing to allow our voices, which is what this whole birth her story is about, our voices, standing for, if you want to know what we think, ask us.
Yes.
We can say it ourselves, we're articulate enough, we're knowledgeable enough, and everything else.
Yes.
Okay, I just want to say that I love you to bits and pieces.
It's mutual.
Okay.
You don't even know.
Just so we're clear. Love you to bits and pieces. So excited. I'm sure as soon as we stop recording, we're going to remember something else that we did not remind the people that Nicole does, because Nicole does it all. But what I really, I just want to say thank you. I want to say thank you for the work that you've committed yourself to. Thank you for your commitment to birth other women into it.
Yes.
Thank you for following your unction to begin to nurture Black women specifically in this realm. Yes. I really see your spirit as one that is like, this is why she came, and I just think that it's beautiful. I think you're beautiful. I love to see what you're doing. I love to watch what you're doing and all of those things. And I want more people to know about you, because maybe right now you're in Arkansas. But I believe that the kind of training that you provide and the kind of things that you do, you're going to be teaching other people how to do that. I know that we've talked before about you doing, going into midwifery full time. I believe that's going to happen. I am just excited. I literally have chills talking about you, because that's how I feel about you. I'm excited to see, what was brought to this earth to be poured upon people. Like, well, I know what I've seen is only the beginning part. And I'm just excited to see what that looks like 10 years, 5 years down the road, the legacy in full force. Yeah. I'm excited to see it. Can you tell the people how they can get in touch with you? Of course, I will provide that information for them, but can you tell them how they can get in touch with you if they want? How can they find you on social media or whatever?
Yes, so I am on, you see my tears.
What is that about?
Yes, so I'm on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Nurturing Arrows is where you're going to find me. You can also find me as Nicolle the Doula in a lot of places. But Nurturing Arrows is where
two L's,
no H. That makes me special.
Yes, you are.
So yes, that's important to know, because you'll miss me with that. And then my website is nurturingarrowsdoulacoach.com. So you can kind of check that out. And
you're beautiful, girl. You're amazing, girl.
Thank you. And I love you. Like you have no idea. Your husband, your boys, I admire you so much, and all of the work and effort and heart. I mean, you got, was it 4 boys?
Yes.
In Chicago?
Chicago suburbs, honey. We out here.
I look at them, I look at their journey, what I've seen, I kind of follow the boys too. I'll be like, oh, look at what they're doing. Oh, they, out here doing this. And I just love it. I admire you in so many different ways. And what you're doing is having an impact all the way over in Arkansas and wherever else it's happening, but it is happening here. And you are truly a part of the reason why I see differently and why I'm invested differently.
Thank you for that.
Because of you.
Thank you for that encouragement. You trying to make me cry. I'm not going to do it. I sucked it up. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it, Nicole.
You got it.
Okay, so I will let you get back to your day. I thank you for taking a portion of your day and sharing it with me and sharing it with those who are going to watch. You are truly a gift. And so you all look forward to it. Look forward to this. Make sure you check out Nicole and all of her social media platforms. Follow her, like her, share her stuff, and just learn, all of that. Thank you for being with me again. I love you. I appreciate you.
You're so welcome.
Okay.
Love you too.
Bye.
Bye.